host JoJo, and today I'm going to be teaching you some facts about elote, its origin, as well as how to make it. Starting with some facts, elote is traced back to start with the indigenous people of Mesoamerica. Elote is commonly called street corn, but also you can find elote on a cob as well as in a cup. When it is on a cup, it is called esquites. Now we are going to go to a commercial break before we start cooking. Now we're going to be making elote or esquites. So first what you're going to want to do is get some cooked corn and put it in a bowl. Now we're going to take some butter. You can use, commonly parquet butter is used, but this type of butter works as well. So now what we're going to do is you're going to measure out your butter. So for this recipe, you need 1 1/4 cups of butter. So here we have our 1/4 cup of butter. And with this recipe, a lot of the ingredients, you can be very flexible with the amount that you use because a lot of these ingredients, you measure it out to taste, so depending on your liking. Also, another note to add is that you should make sure that you have a clean environment and clean hands before making this food. So here we added a 1/4 cup, and now we're gonna add a cup of butter. And I'm not gonna use the full cup because when making the corn, I did add some of my own butter. So like I said, I'm gonna be very flexible with the amount that I use. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your mixing spoon and you're gonna try to mix your corn as best as possible to make sure that the butter is evenly distributed. It's important to make sure that your corn is nice and warm so that the butter can melt as well as possible. Also, another note is that this can get very messy. So now, while we're waiting for this to get evenly distributed and melt, we're gonna put away our butter. Now, you're gonna need 3 limes. And so you're gonna have 3 limes and you're gonna take your knife. You're gonna take your knife and you're gonna cut it in half. Also, note, be very careful and make sure to do this under the supervision of a responsible adult. So first, we started by cutting off our first lime in half, and now you're gonna squeeze this half into your corn. If it's easier, you can use a lemon or a lime squeezer to get more lemon and lime out. It's very hard. Now you're gonna set these aside and get another lime out. I recommend rolling it on the table so that you can get more juice out. Now you're gonna cut this one in half. Again, make sure you do it well supervised and be very careful not to cut your fingers because it is dangerous. Ow. Now you're gonna squeeze this into your corn mixture. Wow. Takes a lot of muscle work. Okay, now you're gonna squeeze your last half. Also, depending on how you would like it to taste, depends on how much lime you want to add. I recommend saving some lime for later so that you can add some on top when you put it into serving cups. Okay, now you're gonna take your spoon and you're gonna mix it up well. A key thing is to make sure that when you're making this with all the ingredients, to mix it as well as possible because it's important that all the different ingredients and flavors are distributed very well into your corn mixture. Whew. Oh, you might spill some. Now, you're gonna get some mayo. I know that some people don't like mayo, and I am one of them, but it is a very key part of this recipe. Ooh, okay. Now for this, you're gonna take 2 1/2 cups of mayonnaise, which Okay, so we're just actually gonna do this, and you're gonna take, wow, it looks very appetizing. So you're gonna measure out 1 cup and add it. Measure out another cup and add it. Now you're gonna measure out half a cup and you're gonna just add it into your mixture. Now you're gonna mix it very, very well. This part is very important because the mayonnaise does add a good amount of flavor to this recipe, so it's important to make sure that it is mixed as well as possible. Also, this recipe will get very messy, so it's important to make sure you have a good environment to make this. So just mix it really nice and good, and you're gonna get some corn spilled, but it's okay. Okay, now you're gonna take this and set it aside. Now, one of my favorite parts, you're gonna take your chili powder. And for this recipe, we're gonna measure out 1 and 1/4 teaspoons. So this is my 1 teaspoon, so we're gonna measure out 1 teaspoon. Be careful because it might make you sneeze. So put this in. Now we're gonna get 1/4. And personally, excuse me, personally, I like to have more chili into mine because I like it spicier. But depending on how much you can tolerate spice depends on how much you can add. So personally, this is looking pretty dull to me, so I'm just gonna add some extra on top. Also keep in mind that once you're done making this and you're gonna distribute it into its own cups, you will be able to add some chili powder on top. Now, another one of my favorite parts is the cheese. This adds a lot of flavor into it. It also does have a bit of a salty taste, so you should be careful when adding this. So this calls for 1 1/4 cups, which is what we're gonna add. So you just wanna carefully pour it into your measuring thing. Also, again, you can be very loose with the amount that you do. Dump that 1 cup and also do this, because that's helpful. And now you're gonna take your 1/4 cup measuring cup and you're gonna measure out some cheese, some more cheese. Also, this that we have is our pre-shredded or crumbled, but you can also buy a block, but make sure that it is crumbled when you add it into your mix. Now, like I've said with everything else, we're gonna make sure to mix it very, very well. While adding this, we're also gonna add some salt. Be careful with how much you add because like I said, the cheese does add a bit of a salty flavor. So now we're just gonna mix this very nice. And you might be noticing when you're making this that it does have a bit of a red color, and that's actually from the chili. So now we're gonna take these cups and we're gonna distribute it nicely for serving. So I recommend mixing it up one last time before doing this. Actually, before we do this, we're gonna go to a commercial break. Okay, so now before we put it into the individual serving cups, personally, I like to taste it just to make sure that I have everything right. So you're gonna take a spoon. Delicious. So, based on what I've tasted, I think it needs just a little bit more cheese because it is looking just a little bit watery. Now we're gonna mix this. Now, Personally, I love to share my food with other people, so we're gonna take this spoon, have an individual mixing cup, or serving cup, and put some into here. This is what it looks like. So now, like I said, to save some of your limes, you're gonna take a lime and roll it to make sure you get a lot of juice. We're gonna cut this up. And be careful because this is dangerous and you don't want to cut yourself. Now we're gonna squeeze some of this in here. Are we done? Squeeze some of that lime in there. And we're gonna put some of this cheese in here. Oh, one fell. Take some chili powder from earlier. And now you're done. Bye. See you next week.